We've spent months tracing the Texas Revolution, from that initial spark of defiance all the way through some really dark, brutal moments.
Yeah, incredibly dark. Loss, defeat, massacres.
But today, we finally arrive at the climax, the turning point.
We do. We're right there on the morning of April 21st, 1836. That long, painful retreat, what they call the runaway scrape. It's done.
So set the scene for us. Where are we?
We're on this marshy plain. Buffalo Bayou and the San Jacinto River meet nearby. You've got two armies camped out. General Sam Houston's Texians, they'd fled the Alamo, Goliad, all that horror.
And Santa Anna's army?
Right there, just a mile away, a professional Mexican force, confident, maybe too confident.
A mile apart. The tension, you can almost feel it, can't you? This battered Texian army, probably demoralized, but also
furious, absolutely furious. Unified by this need for payback, they're finally turning to face Santa Anna himself, the man they held responsible.
So, our mission for this deep dive, we're going to unpack this final showdown. Look at Houston's decisions, the incredible speed of the battle that followed, and what it all meant, right? Using the accounts from people who were there, who lived through it all.
Exactly. This is it. The ultimate gamble for independence. And it's not just about land. It's about vengeance.
Vengeance. That word keeps coming up.
Because it's central. The Texians saw the actions of the Mexican army, the executions, the refusal of quarter as brutal conduct, bloody butchery. Those are the terms they used. The fight for independence got tangled up with this intense personal need for retribution.
So the fate of Texas, it's all coming down to this one afternoon.
Decided before sunset. And the result, well, it becomes one of the most startlingly quick and decisive victories in military history.
Okay, let's talk about Sam Houston. He's made commander-in-chief back on March 4th, right when the Alamo situation is reaching its crisis point.
Right, unanimously elected.
But for weeks, he's been retreating, facing criticism, anger from his own men, almost mutiny, really. How does he pivot from this cautious strategy to suddenly deciding, okay, we attack now?
Well, his command was incredibly difficult from the start. You have this volunteer army, passionate but not always disciplined, wanting to charge headlong at the enemy.
Well, he knows the Mexican army is organized, professional.
Exactly. And his early moves were cautious, sometimes tragically so. He ordered Colonel Fannin to retreat from Goliad to Victoria.
An order that might have saved them.
It might have, yes. But subsequent orders, the ones that could have really guided Fannin to safety, they just didn't get through in time or were unclear. And the result was the Goliad massacre. So Houston's operating under this immense weight.
The failure to save Fannin, the fall of the Alamo, that news ripples out, doesn't it? It's not just the army feeling it.
Oh, absolutely. It hits the settlements hard. The sources paint a vivid picture of the anguish. Take John Holland Jenkins, just 13 years old. Yeah. His stepfather, James Northcross, was killed at the Alamo, along with 31 other men from their town, Gonzales. Jenkins wrote about hearing the cries of the widows, the children. He said it left this deep mark on him, on everyone. It turned all that individual grief into this shared, burning desire for revenge.
So Houston sees this. He understands his army has changed. They're not just soldiers anymore. They're driven by this collective trauma, this focused rage.
He gets it. But the attack itself, still a massive gamble, strategically speaking.
What was that council of war like the morning of the 21st? I imagine it wasn't a simple decision.
Oh, definitely not. It was contentious. Santa Anna's camp was bigger, had natural defenses, terrain working for them. Most of Houston's officers are saying, wait, let's wait for reinforcements, or maybe we try a flanking move later. Caution was the dominant voice.
But Houston overrides them.
He does. He sees the state his men are in, that psychological edge. He sees Santa Anna's arrogance, the lack of preparedness over there, and he makes the call. A surprise attack. High risk, high reward. That afternoon, commit everything.
Wow. Is it genius? Or maybe just sheer desperation? Was he waiting for the pressure, the anger in his own men to reach a point where the tactical risks didn't matter as much as the momentum they carried?
I think that's a really good way to put it. He realized the only way to beat this larger professional force wasn't a long fight. It had to be a shock, a psychological blow. So he commits his army, but he also, in a way, commits the enemy army too.
How so?
Because of one critical order he gives, the one that turns this whole thing into a true victory or death moment.
Ah, you mean the order to his scout?
His legendary scout, yes.
Yeah.
Erastus Smith, better known as Death Smith.
What was the order?
Simple, chilling words. Take your men and burn Vince's Bridge.
Vince's Bridge. Okay, what's the significance of that?
It was the only way out. The only bridge crossed Vince's Bayou nearby. Burning it cut off the route of retreat or reinforcement for both armies.
For both. So Houston was trapping his own men, too.
He was. He was signaling. There's no falling back, no escape. We win here or we die here. That single act, it locked everyone in. The outcome was going to be decided right there, that day. No second chances.
That is intense. It tells you Houston wasn't planning on retreating and certainly wasn't expecting to be taken prisoner. And the men following him into this, they weren't raw recruits.
No, these were the survivors, the ones who'd made it through the earlier disasters. That's key to understanding why the charge was so ferocious. You had men who'd seen the worst of it already.
Like William Wilson.
Exactly. He'd been assigned, essential but non-combat work, helping families escape during the runaway escape. But he deliberately came back to the army. Why? To be in this fight. That's the level of personal commitment we're talking about.
And others too, right? Survivors from Fannon's command.
Yes. William Hawley, several others. They'd been on a supply brig that ran aground, managed to escape capture, somehow avoided the massacre at Goliad. They carried that visceral memory. They weren't just fighting for Texas. They were there, as the sources say, for the glories of San Jacinto, meaning they were there to avenge their murdered friends.
Their presence just hammers home what was at stake. It wasn't abstract, it was personal. End the war, yes, but also make Santa Anna pay for the Alamo, for Goliad.
Absolutely. You had different units, like the Mina volunteers, sometimes recent arrivals, maybe even mercenaries, standing right next to longtime colonists, but they were all united by this one thing. They had to win. And they knew, because of Santa Anna's actions, surrender probably meant execution anyway.
It's ironic, isn't it? Santa Anna's brutality was meant to crush the rebellion.
But instead, it wiped out any chance for a compromise. It forged this unified, vengeful force that literally had nothing left to lose. He basically created the perfect enemy for himself. So the decision's made. Vince's bridge is burning, cutting off escape. Around 3:30 in the afternoon, the attack begins.
3:30 p.m. Why that time?
That was tactically brilliant. Or perhaps just lucky timing, exploiting a known habit. It was siesta time for the Mexican army.
Seriously, they were napping.
Many of them were resting, yes. There was this belief, maybe arrogance in the Mexican camp, that the Texians were too disorganized, too cowardly to launch a disciplined attack in broad daylight. They weren't expecting it.
That speaks volumes about their overconfidence, doesn't it? A professional army resting barely a mile from the enemy without adequate lookouts.
It was a huge mistake, and Santa Anna had compounded it with his choice of campsite. He positioned his forces on this narrow piece of land bordered by the San Jacinto River and Buffalo Bayou with marshland behind them.
A bottleneck.
Effectively, yes. Especially once Vince's bridge was gone. It was a terrible spot if you needed to retreat quickly. Vulnerable. A death trap, really.
Okay, so the Texians start moving. There are less than 900 of them, right? A small force. How do they cross open ground without being seen?
Houston used the terrain brilliantly. There was a slight rise, almost a low ridge, between the two camps. They advanced in a long, thin line, keeping that rise between them and the Mexican position. They used patches of trees, the tall prairie grass, for cover.
And silently.
Utter silence.
Late.
That was crucial. No drums beating, no bugle calls, just the sound of, hundreds of men moving as quietly as possible through the grass. Absolute discipline.
That discipline, holding back hundreds of men boiling with rage, moving silently. That's remarkable. It suggests that need for revenge was so focused, it created perfect military order right up until the final moment.
It really does. And the deployment was smart, too. The main infantry line was in the center. But on the far right flank, you had the cavalry, small but effective, led by Colonel Mirabeau B. Lamar.
What was their role?
They were positioned to sweep around and block any escape attempt towards the rear, towards the marshes, and also to counter any Mexican attempt to form up and charge back. Houston was planning for a complete rout, not just a firefight. He wanted to trap them.
And this commitment was total, wasn't it? Not everyone was in that charging line, but everyone played a part.
Absolutely. Logistics were vital. We know men like Dick Vaughn, who was actually the first sheriff of Bastrop County, and Greenleaf Fisk. They weren't on the field.
Where were they?
They were stationed back at Harrisburg, a few miles away, guarding the Army's supplies, the baggage train, keeping the base secure. Harrisburg was kind of the point of no return for the Army supplies and support. Fisk, a veteran from the Mina Volunteers, later became a big name in Bastrop. Their job was essential. Without that secure base, the attack would have been reckless.
So by leaving men behind to guard the baggage, Houston was showing complete confidence that the main force would win and win quickly. He was betting everything on that single afternoon assault.
Total commitment. Failure wasn't an option because it meant losing everything, the army, the supplies, the whole revolution probably.
So you have this disciplined, silent Texian line advancing.
While the Mexican camp, overconfident, unprepared, is literally sleeping through the approach of its own destruction. The contrast is just stark.
Okay, this is it. The moment everything changes. The Texians reach the ridge, the cover breaks, and the silence shatters. Describe that moment.
It must have been an absolute explosion of sound and fury. This is around 4:30 p.m. now. They crest the rise, see the Mexican camp laid out below them, completely unprepared, and they charge. Just surge forward across those last few hundred yards.
Not a careful advance anymore.
No, this is a wave, a human wave fueled by months of anger, grief, and this burning need for payback.
And the battle cries, those legendary cries.
Remember the Alamo, remember Goliad. They screamed it. It wasn't just a chant, it was a declaration. It was the answer to Santa Anna executing prisoners. It was basically saying, the rules have changed. Your brutality is coming back on you.
The psychological shock on the Mexican soldiers must have been immense. Woken from rest, suddenly facing this screaming charge.
Immediate and devastating. These were professional soldiers, yeah, but they weren't ready for this. This level of raw fury combined with the shock of a surprise attack, and then came the artillery.
The twin sisters. We have to talk about the cannons.
Absolutely critical. These were two 6-pounder cannons, brass cannons, fairly new arrivals, a gift from the people of Cincinnati, actually.
Named the twin sisters.
That's right, and they were used perfectly. As the infantry charged, the twin sisters opened fire directly into the Mexican camp. Not solid shot, but packed with broken horseshoes, bits of chain, scrap metal, basically shrapnel, grape shot.
Oh, brutal. Aimed right into the tents, the resting soldiers.
Exactly. Blasting into the disorganized ranks, causing instant chaos, casualties, panic. So it wasn't just an infantry charge, it was a combined assault. Screaming men rushing forward while artillery is tearing through the camp.
That combination, the noise, the charge, the cannons, it just broke them instantly.
Almost instantly, the Mexican lines just dissolved. There was no organized defense. It turned into a terrified mob, men running, trying to escape, completely losing formation.
Which explains the incredible speed of the battle.
It does. The most stunning fact about San Jacinto is how short it was. The main fighting. Over in 18 minutes.
18 minutes. Just think about that. A revolution hanging by a thread for months, decided in less time than it takes to, I don't know, cook dinner.
It's staggering. The Mexican army shattered. They ran towards the bayou, towards the marsh, only to find their escape route, Vince's Bridge, was gone. They were trapped.
And the Texians pursued them. I imagine there wasn't much mercy shown.
Very little. The fighting turned into a rout, and then into, well, a slaughter in many cases, as the Texians chased down fleeing soldiers.
Yeah.
But even in this overwhelming victory, there was a cost for the Texians too.
Right, it wasn't completely bloodless on their side.
No. Even a rout is dangerous when it's hand-to-hand, fueled by that kind of rage.
Yeah.
We know of at least one specific Texian casualty. Lemuel Stockton Blakey.
Blakey, who was he?
He was with the Mina Volunteers, stayed loyal to the cause. His family had settled near Bastrop. He was one of the 9 Texians officially listed as killed in the battle, fell right at the moment of victory.
9 Texians killed, compared to hundreds of Mexican soldiers killed or captured. The numbers are just astronomical. It shows the totality of the collapse, the sheer ferocity of that pursuit.
It truly does. 18 minutes. From the chaos of the charge to the undeniable reality of independence. Just like that.
So the battle itself is over in minutes, a stunning rout. But the job isn't finished, right? They need the commander.
Exactly. The fighting might be done, but the revolution isn't secure until Santa Anna himself is accounted for. And driven by those memories, Alamo, Goliad, the Texians, showed very little mercy in the immediate aftermath. The battlefield became a scene of intense pursuit, a manhunt, really.
That vengeance is palpable. They needed to ensure Santa Anna, the man they called responsible for the bloody butchery, couldn't just slip away and raise another army. Capturing him was the key.
Dead or alive, yes, that was the priority. But finding it wasn't easy. Why? Because Santa Anna and some of his officers tried to disappear. They ditched their uniforms, tried to blend in with the common soldiers, scattering in panic.
Trying to escape the slaughter.
Precisely. The crucial moment comes the next day, April 22nd. A Texian search party is scouring the marshes, the tall grass near the bayou. And they find this man, hiding. Looks terrified, wearing a simple common soldier's uniform, just plain blue cotton trousers and a smock.
He's basically in disguise.
Completely. Looks like nobody important. They capture and bring him back towards the Texian camp. He's just another prisoner. But then The sources describe this incredible moment.
What happens?
As they're escorting this captured private past a group of other Mexican prisoners who are already rounded up, those prisoners see him, and they immediately snap to attention. They salute him. Some start crying out, El presidente, el presidente.
Wow, his own men gave him away.
They did. Just like that, the disguise was useless. They had him. The president of Mexico, the dictator, the commander of the army, captured, dressed as a common grunt.
That reveal, it's almost symbolic of the whole Texian victory, isn't it? The ultimate knockout blow. Capturing El Presidente must have been strategically even more important than winning the battle itself.
Oh, absolutely. Because now, the head of the government, the military leader, is a prisoner. The war is effectively over. The other Mexican forces still in Texas. They were substantial, but scattered. Now they had no leader, no orders, no real reason to keep fighting. They were paralyzed.
But there must have been immediate tension. The Texian soldiers, filled with that rage, they must have wanted to kill Santa Anna right then and there, execute him for the massacres.
The pressure was enormous, absolutely. Many Texians were demanding his immediate execution, justice or revenge for the Alamo and Goliad. Santa Anna's life was hanging by a thread.
How did Houston handle that? He was wounded, right?
Severely wounded.
Yeah.
His ankle was shattered by a musket ball during the battle. He was lying under a large oak tree in agony. Even then, he understood the bigger picture. He knew Santa Anna, alive, was far more valuable than Santa Anna, dead, because he needed Santa Anna, the president, the dictator, to issue official orders. Orders for all remaining Mexican troops to leave Texas. He needed him to sign treaties recognizing Texas's independence. A dead Santa Anna couldn't do that. A living Santa Anna, under duress, could legitimize their victory and prevent more fighting.
So Houston, even in intense pain, is thinking politically. He's trading immediate vengeance for long-term nationhood.
He is. It was a moment of, frankly, political genius under extreme circumstances. He protected Santa Anna from the mob, and because of that, the stunning military victory translated directly into diplomatic success. Mexican authority in Texas just evaporated. The path to formal independence was clear. #, conclusion.
What an absolutely incredible end to this story. A revolution that seemed defined by failure, by tragedy, by desperation, suddenly culminates in this astonishing triumph.
It really is remarkable. We started this whole deep dive way back at Gonzales, didn't we?
Yes,
That
sir.
first shot over a little cannon.
Like their Lexington and Concord moment.
Exactly. Then through the darkness of the Alamo, the horror of Goliad. And we end here. An 18-minute battle, a complete rout at San Jacinto. The war that looked hopeless just weeks before. Over. Just like that.
And the direct result, independence.
Immediate and absolute. If Santa Anna captured, Houston could dictate terms. The outcome was the Treaties of Velasco, signed by Santa Anna himself, under duress, of course, but signed nonetheless.
What did they guarantee?
Texas's independence.
Yeah.
And the withdrawal of all Mexican troops south of the Rio Grande. It was done.
It ties everything together so perfectly. You think back to 1835, the Texians were saying, we're loyal to Mexico's constitution, we just want to be a separate state.
Right. Their initial declaration stressed loyalty to the 1824 Constitution, just pleading for statehood. But Santa Anna's response, the centralization of power, the brutal crackdown, the massacres it pushed them, it eliminated any middle ground, any chance for compromise.
His actions forced them towards independence.
Absolutely. The fight became absolute. Win or die. And so the Republic of Texas wasn't just declared. It was forged in the fire of the Alamo and Goliad, and finally secured on the field at San Jacinto. Those sacrifices, they were avenged. And from all that trauma and fury, a new nation was born.
It's an unbelievable trajectory. As we wrap this up, you really have to sit with that paradox, that irony we touched on earlier.
Yeah.
Did Santa Anna himself, through his own calculated cruelty, actually guarantee Texas's independence in the end? His brutality was meant to crush them.
But instead, it's the ultimate bitter irony, isn't it? He intended to terrorize them into submission, discourage anyone else from rebelling. But by taking away any hope for peace, by executing prisoners, by being so utterly ruthless, he eliminated the moderates. He unified the remaining Texians in this absolute binding need for vengeance.
He handed Sam Houston the perfect weapon.
Pretty much. A small army, yes, but disciplined for that one moment, unified in purpose and just incandescent with rage. And that rage, focused for 18 devastating minutes, gave birth to a republic.
The ultimate price of arrogance. Just an incredible story. Thanks for taking us through this deep dive.
My pleasure. It's quite a chapter in history.